Welcome, everybody. This is Karen. Thank you for those of you that are right on time. We're going to be waiting for a couple of minutes until the stroke of high noon. As a reminder, first of all, if a couple of you could type in the either do an emoji that indicates that you can hear me okay, or if you'd like to type it in the Q&A, that works as well. Just make sure you can hear me. Okay, thank you, Leanne. And just as a reminder, I run these webinars on the second and the fourth Wednesday of the month. Also, as a reminder, I'm waiting for my little person to come, my little helper, but I know a lot of you reach out to me via email with a question. One of the times that you may not want to send me one of those questions is the Tuesday before the webinar, because sometimes you will become my participant in crime. You will become my little helper. I will unmute you and you'll have an opportunity not only to ask your question, but also to make a few comments. So it's really hard to do these presentations in a vacuum. So I really appreciate the people that I quote unquote volunteer to help me. Today's presentation should take about 30 minutes. I have about 30 slides. Usually it takes me about a minute to go over each slide. Obviously, anytime you have a question, please feel free to type in the Q&A. If you like something, please feel free to shoot up an emoji. I always like to see those thumbs ups and those little smiley faces flying across the screen. For those of you who are attending a webinar for the first time, yes, I use the webinar product that comes as free as a part of Zoho One. Okay, I'm not seeing my helper. Let me just double check. Okay. Not seeing my volunteer, so I'm just going to go ahead and start the meeting without him. And when he pops in, I will unmute him so that he can ask his comments and his questions. So hi, everybody. This is Karen. And this is, I think, the 15th of these webinars that I've run. I've been running them every second and fourth Wednesday since December, really. And at this point, I think I've converted approximately 300 companies from ACT to Zoho. So I think I've seen every question in the book. Now, some of you are just Zoho users that didn't use ACT. I will be making some references to ACT, and if you did not start out in the ACT environment, feel free to ignore those questions. So today's topic is attaching files to contacts in Zoho CRM. We have a bunch of different ways to do it in Zoho, and it's not kind of a one size fits all. It's whatever feels the most comfortable for you. And I'm going to be showing you about 6 different ways that you can attach documents and talking about the amount of documents you can attach. And again, anytime you have a question, just feel free to type it in the Q&A. So why do we attach files to CRM contacts? Anybody want to take a guess or give a suggestion of why we would ever want to attach a file to a contact? Or can you think of some scenarios when you might do that? Okay. I like to attach documents. It gives you a centralized area to have all your key documents, whether you have your contracts, your proposals, your quotes, your NDAs. Missy suggested it's a good place to keep resumes. It will ensure that your team has access to all these files because we're all about sharing these documents. We can keep client records complete and organized. We can improve our productivity and reduce email instead of having to look through and find email attachments. Great place to find your documents. So what were the limitations with the Act Attachments folder or the Act Attachments? Oh my gosh. How do I start to count? The Act Attachments folder was kind of a one-size-fits-all approach. All roads, no matter where you added your document, basically led to the attachments folder, one big attachments folder. Now, what I didn't like about that attachments folder, it was horrible file management. It did not allow for any organization. In other words, it did not allow us to create subfolders. If you deleted a history, the document remained in place. If you deleted a document, the history remained in place. So a lot of people would have a history and they go, oh, here's a document. They would click on it and nothing would open. Or they were left with literally gigs and gigs. I've had clients that have had 30, 40, 50 gigs of attachments that they totally couldn't identify because a lot of times they had cryptic names. They didn't reference the path where the file, the contact that the file was saved to. It was hard to share documents if you had remote users. A lot of you do have remote users. If you were using the Act synchronization method, it often broke because we were trying to send an awfully lot of documents basically through a little pinhole. So it often broke. And the Act Cloud Storage, they do give you 15 gigabytes of storage. That's 15 gigabytes. Some of your databases take between 4 to 6 gigabytes, which doesn't leave you a whole lot of room. If I do some quick math here, you got like 9 to 11 gigabytes of file storage, which is okay. But, when you go above that limit, you're going to have to start paying for it. I know a lot of you are cheap, by the way. So just a quick tip. I can bring over your Act attachments to Zoho. Probably half of my conversions wanted their attachments, the other half didn't. If you need those, I can bring over those attachments. It takes a bit of custom programming. Basically, I take your attachments and I move them into Zoho WorkDrive, which we'll be talking about in a minute. I have the history or the note or wherever your attachments are located. You can click on that and voila, the document opens. So we can bring them over if we need to. But moving forward, we're going to talk about other solutions. So what are the Zoho storage allotments? We talked about Act. It gave us about 15 gigs. In Zoho, we have a little bit more. If you're using Zoho CRM, it only gives you 1 gigabyte plus a half of 512 megs, which is a half a gig per user. That would be for people that don't have a lot of documents. But for those of you using Zoho One, WorkDrive, which is included as part of Zoho One, comes with 5 terabytes plus 300 gigs per user of attachments. I don't know if you've ever looked at your documents, but 5 terabytes of information is huge. So if you're someone that does have a lot of documents, if you don't have another solution, you probably want to stick with Zoho One because it includes WorkDrive free of charge. And again, Zoho One costs you $444 a year, and it's including all that storage space. Just to give you an example of some other solutions, I know some of you, and these aren't terribly expensive, some of you use what is this one? We've got, oh gosh, we've got Google Drive, we've got Dropbox, and we have OneDrive. So you can see Dropbox, not horribly expensive. You could get this professional version for 16 bucks a month, or the standard for 15 bucks a user, which is giving you 5 terabytes. And you could get the Google Drive. 5 terabytes seems to be kind of that magic spot. Google Drive is only giving you 2 terabytes for $10 a month. And again, not really expensive. If you're already using it, that's fine. But if you don't have an online storage, WorkDrive is a good solution. So again, if you have a lot of documents, use Zoho One. It's included free of charge. And I always like that word free. So I'm going to start with a little question. What is the difference between documents and templates? Anybody know what's the difference between a document and a template? Okay, a template is a form that we could use over and over again. A template includes placeholders. Leanne gave the perfect answer. She said templates are reusable. Exactly. We could use them over and over again because most of us are basically lazy. We don't like to have to do the same thing multiple times. So it also, a template includes placeholders so that we can personalize those documents. So we can have proposals and contracts, and we can create those as templates so that we can use them over and over again, or we can make simple modifications anytime that we use them. A document can be the result of a merge between a record and a template. So you can open a template and you can merge it with your contact and you can save it as a document. Now I have a question for you because I see this a lot, especially in some of my users that come over from ACT, and they've been using ACT 25, 30 years, which is not unusual to see. And some of them, they create a document. Maybe they want to send out a change of address letter to 3,000 of their customers. Or maybe they want to send out a Thanksgiving or Christmas holiday letter to 3,000 of their customers. So they merge that document with 3,000 people and, an ACT created a document. Do we need to save it? And I'll give the answer for you because that is a big resounding no. If you're using a template and every document is the same, you're not making modifications, and no, you don't have to save it. Just a history is all you need. That, hey, I sent the change of address document, or hey, I sent the NDA, if you don't make changes to it every time. Okay, I'm looking here and my, oh, there he is. George has shown up. George, I am going to unmute you. So George is one of my, I don't remember how long George and I have been working together. George, can you try to speak and let's see if we can hear you? George, can you say something? There he goes. Perfect. Okay. George, how long have we worked together? I don't really remember.
I was going to say probably before puberty, but that's a little too quick. I was back when ACT was promoting their program in the Airplane magazine, so it's got to be 40 years ago.
Okay, and what was your big reason for moving from ACT to Zoho?
The big reason is that I've been noticing that the journey that ACT's been going on for the last many years, a lot of fits and starts, and in the last 5 years, I've had experience with Salesforce and Zoho, and I was as well as ACT, and I realized that what I would call a three-dimensional connection between contacts. That means the customer, suppliers, and the interaction, if you will, was not available as easily through ACT that I could get through the other two. Again, also understanding that ACT was a generational software, which is more electronic. I call it an electronic Rolodex system. Whereas Zoho, what I like about Zoho, it's a more interactive database that allows me not only email, the basic email, but it allows me to bring conversations and topics together.
Okay. And George probably has, one of the best things about my job is a vast variety of businesses I work with. And George probably has one of the coolest businesses ever. George, what do you do?
Well, I'm in the ice cream business. And my father was in the ice cream. He was my dad made ice cream. He was a plant manager, and my mother's brother milked cows. He had a big herd of cows. So it's on both sides of the family. And in 1973, we built our first ice cream store named after my mother, Peppermint Patties. And we made our ice cream. It was kind of like an old-fashioned Dairy Queen, if you will, that kind of a theme. We had homemade ice cream and homemade custard. And then when I graduated from college, I went out and started selling ice cream equipment and got into flavors. And over the last 50 years, I've been blessed to work with a lot of ice cream companies. Carvel from the East Coast to many to Dunkin' Donuts in the West Coast. So I've been blessed to enjoy a career of treats.
Yeah, I mean, how cool is that? And George actually does a podcast, and your podcast would be about.
Essentially, it's about ice cream stores, and it's about what they've done. It's their journey. It's their story.
Which I think is so cool. So like I said, I just love hearing the different stories of different people, big companies, small companies that that have used ACT, that have used Zoho, and just the variety of industries that I work with is just really phenomenal. Okay, so going back to our presentation, we've got a couple of scenarios. Are you just occasionally sharing a document? If you are, that Zoho Cloud that I showed you before, the minimal storage space is all you need. Do you need online file storage? Maybe your server is dying. Maybe you're trying to get documents out to remote users. That's what I would consider using, Zoho One, which includes Work Drive. Maybe you're using other online storage, and that's fine. Keep using your OneDrive, your Dropbox, or whatever you're using, but we could still attach it to a Zoho contact record. Maybe you have a server. Yeah, you could share those documents, but you're going to be using something like SharePoint, remote desktop, and that can become very pricey. Online storage, as we saw before, is really cheap. So, in this day and age, most people don't want to support having a server, having to buy this sharing software so they can share these documents with other people. Big thing that I get from people, and I'll consider these a type of document, even though we handle them a little bit differently. People want to save invoices and quotes. I know I send invoices out all the time. I create quotes all the time. Any of you that I converted your software, I sent you a conversion quote. So that's something that we might want to save as well. So I'm going to start with the quote. I'm going to kind of start backwards here, creating quotes, invoices, and sales order. All versions of Zoho CRM, except for the free version, include the ability to create invoices, quotes, and sales orders. You actually use these a little bit differently. You actually use CRM to create the templates. I'll show you that in a second. Now you can optionally accept payments on those quotes. So not only could we, some of you used QuoteWorks, not only can we send out a quote, but we could accept payments. Now, if you already have a merchant service account, you want to have authorized net, which will tie Zoho back to your merchant service account. We also have Zoho Payments, which is a merchant service account. And obviously you wouldn't have to have authorized.net. It would just send it out, collect the money, put it in your bank. Now you can do that whether or not you use Zoho Books. If you want to stay in your QuickBooks and you just want to send invoices and receive money, that's fine. But don't forget, when we send those payments out and we accept, people can type in the credit card information, it's PCI compliant. And I just spoke to someone yesterday, someone you might know, Leanne, that was telling me, Oh, we go to trade shows. We just jot down people's credit card information. And I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, what could go wrong with that? Like maybe that little legal pad you're jotting down that information disappears in that trade show. It's not always legal. In fact, it's pretty much considered illegal to write down credit card information, which is why if you're going to do quotes and invoices, you don't want to just send it out on a piece of paper. You want something that if people are paying you, it's tied. So whether, and again, if you're using basic CRM, you could be using the cheap version, 100 and something a year. You can create your invoices and quotes. You can accept payment. It's not going to really cost you anything other than the 2%, 2.7% that they take off the top, when you charge credit cards. And now we're PCI compliant. So to create those quote, invoice, or sales order templates, again, you do those through CRM. You're going to go into CRM. Those of you that have taken the webinars before know you hit that rosebud for the ladies or gear shift for the guys. We go into the setup area. We go into customization. We go to our templates. Kind of a weird name. They say inventory. And I would have called it finance, but if they want to call it inventory, that's fine with me. And you'll see that we have a purchase order template, a sales order template, invoice template, and a quote template. And by the way, they can be cloned. So if you have to have several different invoice, look and feels for your invoices, you can clone these. And this is kind of what the invoice template looks like. And, on the surface, it looks pretty scary. But if you break it down, you'll see basically we have a name, invoice template. We can clone it. Over here is our little clone button. If you uploaded your logo to CRM, your logo is going to appear there. If you uploaded all your contact information for your company, that's going to appear up here. The bill to is going to be based on the information that you have in your accounts record, along with the shipping. Maybe you only use bill to, maybe you don't use shipping. So of course you can change this invoice however you want to include the fields you want. This is the stuff you don't want to change. This is where you have your products list so that you can pull up a product. And when you put your products into Zoho the first time we import them, you could use numbers. Some of you use an item number, some of you don't. I don't happen to use item numbers, so I could just, bring in my products without them. You have your little description. You can actually have an amount. So you type in your quantity. It'll multiply it by whatever amount you either have saved as part of an item or you type it each time. And it's going to do the math, and probably does the math a lot better than Karen does. It's going to give you a subtotal. If you have taxable items, we'll add on that tax based on the state. And, off you go. You can have your terms and conditions that, show up here. And again, you can have as many of these as you want. That's a simple invoice. Now, if you want to tie it to Zoho Payments, you sign up to Zoho Payments, no charge for it. You send it out, people can pay, they type in the credit card information, it's secure, you get the money in the bank. If you're continuing to use QuickBooks, you're probably going to have to do some double entry, or we could do a little custom programming between CRM and QuickBooks. If you're using Zoho Books, now you've got a replacement for QuickBooks. It's full featured accounting system. And those invoices will appear in Zoho Books, no double entry. The payments will be in Zoho Books. You can see your payments, by the way, on both the CRM side or in the Zoho Books side. So it's pretty, nice integration if you're using invoices. Okay. And when you go into a contact, like here's our friend Albert, for example, and you go down the related list on the side, if you send him quotes, if you sent them sales orders, purchase orders, invoices, and again, you can customize this. So if you don't send sales orders or purchase orders, we can get that off of the list, but you want to see the quotes that you sent, they'll show down here. You want to see the invoices you sent, they'll show over here. So now we've got a tight integration with or without accounting, with or without payment. So I like to think of it as small, medium, and large. Am I sending an invoice? Am I sending an invoice to get payments? Am I sending an invoice and want it to go back to my accounting program? So method 2 is using WorkDrive. Cool thing about Zoho, when you have Zoho One and you have all those different apps, people always say, well, how do I get to, I've got Zoho One, Karen. How do I get to WorkDrive? Oh, it's workdrive.zoho.com. You have Sales IQ as part of Zoho One. Guess how you get there? salesiq.zoho.com. You have meetings as part of Zoho One. How do you get there? meeting.zoho.com. They don't make this rocket science. It's usually pretty straightforward. But here's a sample of what WorkDrive looks like. And here we have WorkDrive. I showed a couple of things. You can take certain files or folders and make them favorites so that they show up here. If there's something you're working on, you just click the star, unclick the star, and it shows up as a favorite. You can have folders that are shared with you, like maybe you're the sales manager and you're saving or sharing documents with the president of the company. You can have your own little secret folders down here. You can have team folders. So maybe you have contracts, you have marketing materials that you're sharing with a team of users. So you have all those permissions. And again, all these documents are easily tied back to CRM. Kind of like that one-stop shopping. So a couple of the different functions here. If you hit the new button, just like Google Drive, we have Zoho Writer, we have Zoho Sheet, Zoho Show. This is like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. Honestly, guys, I do not use those. I use the Microsoft products. I have some companies that just hate Microsoft with a passion or don't want to pay for Microsoft, and they do use the Zoho version. So you can make a new one there. You can also upload files, obviously, to WorkDrive. You can upload a whole folder. You can import from a cloud. So I have people that come to move to Zoho. They were using Dropbox. They just import everything from the cloud and off they go. We can create new folders over here. We can also create, let me see, screen shares, videos, and audios. You know how you want to show somebody, something's going wrong. You want to make a quick little snippet, a little audio. That's included as part of WorkDrive. So I use it every so often when I'm trying to show somebody how to do something. I go in there and I record like a little video for them. So method 3 is to upload a file to a note. Again, we had this in ACT. We have it in Zoho. I personally don't use this method very often. And the reason I don't use this method very often is I may have a lot of notes for client. And I don't like to get those documents buried alive inside my notes. But if you're used to doing that from ACT, hey, that's fine. So you can go into your notes, add a note. You'll see the little paperclip down here. When you hit the paperclip, it's going to ask you to upload the document from WorkDrive or, from your computer, wherever you want it. When you want to see it again, you go into that note, you'll hit the paperclip, and it'll let you decide, do you want to just view that document or do you want to download that document? So say you upload a document, you put it in a note, and one of your coworkers can download the document. I think that's kind of a long way to China. But I do have people that like to use that methodology. That's why we have a lot of methodology, different ways of doing things in Zoho. So do not get me started on the ACT email attachment feature. Please don't get me started. Do not ask me about it. I hate it. And again, why did I hate it? Because a lot of you just loved that feature where you could make an turn an email into an attachment. The problem is it turned every email that you sent and received into an attachment file. It was a great way to blow up your hard drive. It was a great way to get hundreds, if not thousands, of attachments on your server. And a lot of those attachments, when they were cryptic, you couldn't tell what they were. They had no identification. When you opened it up, it might have said, "Thank you, you're welcome, see you Friday." You needed those like a hole in the head. We do have email attachments in Zoho. It works a little bit differently. So here's one record, one of my clients. Here's Gary, and you can see I've sent him lots of email. And you can see that when you look over here, the email. These are my Outlook emails that I've sent. This was a mass email that I sent him about the webinar. And by the way, when I send those mass emails, I can tell if you've opened them or not. And I get a lot of you that say, "Oh, you didn't invite me to the webinar." Yeah, guys, I can tell. But in this case, I had sent him a copy of his NDA, and I sent this through Outlook. I clicked on his email address, and Zoho Outlook popped open. I attached a copy of the NDA, and I sent it. Now, Zoho was smart enough to keep a record of that sent email, and it has a little paperclip. So you notice I look at all these different files, or sorry, different emails. Only one of them had a paperclip. Aha, says Karen, it's got an attachment. So I clicked that paperclip, and if there were two attachments, it would have the name of both files, or three files. It would have the name of all the files right here. So I could pick one of the files or all the files. And then I go over and I can either download the file to a zip file, or I could take other actions, which is to attach it to the attachments folder in the related list, or I can put it to work drive. So if I want to go back, I sent him that NDA, or he sent me that NDA, I could take it, save it over to work drive. And I can do this just for the emails that have attachments. And that's why I like this feature so much better than the email attachment feature, which was kind of like an all or nothing type of thing in ACT. So method 5 is to actually create a file upload custom field. We have file upload custom fields, and that is a mouthful. Basically, if you only tend to have one or two files per contact, say, for example, you're an insurance company or a financial planner, and you always want to have one document that's going to have their NDA and one document that's going to have their power of attorney. I'm just making this up off the top of my head. You could make two files, one for the NDA, one for the power of attorney, upload their NDA, upload their power of attorney, and you would have it right there on the record. This gives you easy access to key files. Missy, I think that would be a great way to have your resume. Somebody sends you a resume. You want to get to it easily. Set up a custom file upload field for a resume, and you go into Susie Smith. There it says resume. You click on it, and voila, the resume opens. So it looks like this. Again, we go into our little rosebud or gear shift. We go to the setup area. We go into our modules and fields. We pick our layout, and then we take the file upload, which is what the name of the file type is, and you drag it over to your layout. And the only thing you really have to do is give it a name. Here I called it an NDA. And then when you look at their contact record, they've got that NDA file, and you click on it, and you can upload a file, a document. You can upload something from Work Drive, or from OneDrive or Google Drive, or where else you're sending your documents. Now you have that one little document for one person. And I could see resumes would be really great, because that's something, anybody that's in that area, the resumes aren't going to change. And if they do, they don't want the old one, they want the new one. So it's that one document they want to get to really quickly. And yes, Missy, you owe me 50 cents for that one. Okay, so to give us a little recap, we can attach documents to Zoho CRM in a number of ways. You can use all ways, one way, a couple of ways, whatever works for you. Zoho Work Drive is included with Zoho One, free of charge, and includes 5 terabytes, and that's a lot of data storage. And you can create those quotes and or invoices, and you can actually accept payments, and you can actually tie it back to either QuickBooks or Zoho Books. So first bonus, this is an oldie. I know I've said it before, but I can't emphasize it enough. Set your backups. Again, you go into the setup area, you go to data administration, data backup, and either download a backup right now if you need to do something, or get them automatically twice a month. Again, this does not mean it's the only time your data is being backed up. Your data is being backed up every day, every minute of every day. This is for you to download a backup copy. And again, if you've downloaded your backups from ACT, you know that they will do you no good because they're in SQL. Unless you have SQL Studio or those backups do nothing for you. But in Zoho, those backups are CSV files. Why am I so keen on those? Because I can take those CSV files, say your states. This is a common one I see. People want to standardize the states. They have Florida, they have FLA, they have FL, and they want to take all the different variations of Florida and they want to make them FL. You can take that backup file, you could fix it in there and then re-import it, and voila, you fixed your data. You can do multiple fields and fix multiple field data. It is absolutely the best way if you have a major cleanup operation. Bonus 2, learn to use the lookup fields. Here's some example. Lead to contact. I want to associate a new lead with the contact that referred them. I can create a referral source and I can have that field. So I look at the lead contact record or lead record, and it will say referral source, Joe Schmo. I look at Joe Schmo's record and I can see all the contacts that he has referred to me over a period of time. Contact to contact. I get people, again, financial planners, and they want to associate a parent with a child. So I can, have one contact labeled mommy and the other contact labeled family member or sibling or whatever, and we could relate contacts to each other. I can relate one parent to multiple children. Deals to account. You might have a deal that you want to associate with several companies. So again, we can create those lookup fields, any type of modules, any modules that exist or any modules you create in Zoho. Bonus 3. Kind of the same thing, but it's a multi-select lookup field. So the best, I get a lot of people that do classes, they do seminars, and they want to see all the people that attend a seminar. We could set up a custom module for seminars. Where was it located? What was the date? What was the topic? What was the name of the seminar? And then we can take our different contacts and say, this person attended, that person attended. We can have 30 people attending one seminar. So we can see from the seminar module who attended. I can see from the contact module what seminars the person has attended. It's that one-to-many relationship. It's so cool. Contacts to custom properties. I have a lot of you that are in real estate. You might want to set up a properties module. These are the properties that I'm showing, the listings that I have, the properties I manage, whatever. And then you want to associate the contacts that have gone to view that property or the contacts that live in that property. Again, that one-to-many. And again, contacts to accounts. You might have an account and you want to list all the contacts either that work at that account or maybe that you want to see all the candidates that you're trying to place for a job with that company. So lots of reasons that we could use those multi-select lookup fields. So suggestions are always wanted for future topics. I'd love to know any tips and tricks that you've discovered. The future meetings starting in August, I'm going to start repurposing some of the topics. I've now done about 15, 16 of these webinars, and I'm going to use some of them over again. I'm going to do the new material on the 4th Wednesday and the repurposed topics on the 2nd Wednesday. All my prior sessions can be found on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Karen Fredericks. If you spell my name incorrectly, you will not get there. Only one E in Fredericks. But take it, don't look today. If you had a cutout or you came in late and you want to see the whole presentation, I usually takes me a day or two to get them up there, but eventually I will get them. They're on my website too. So if you miss one of the webinars, you want to see one of the past topics, they're always there. Okay, let me look through the questions. How hard is it to move from Dropbox or Google Drive? It's not hard because when we go into Work Drive, we have a way, to bring things from a cloud. So you could actually say, okay, here's that cloud. Let me just see if I could find that file again, show you where it was. Might take me a while. Yeah, we can upload files individually. We can upload folders. Like I've had a lot of people upload their entire ACT attachment folder and put it into an ACT attachment folder in WorkDrive. But we can also import from cloud. So it's not hard. The thing is, sometimes it takes a while. It can take a couple of hours if you have a lot of documents. PCI, what does PCI compliancy? Oh my goodness. Does anybody know what PCI stands for? I know I'm required by my insurance company every year to do this PCI compliancy form. I know QuickBooks Merchant Services requires it. A lot of merchant services accounts require it. It just basically means that you're not doing things like writing down credit card information on your desk on a piece of paper where somebody could see it, keeping it in a website that somebody could hack and possibly see, or writing it down in a trade show where somebody could steal your notebook. Okay, someone said in ACT, we were taught to not attach files directly. Yay. And because of that ACT attachments folder, if you asked me, of course, you knew what my suggestion was. Instead, we stored on Dropbox and attached a link, which is great. I'm using the same practice in Zoho. Perfect. Attaching links from a folder in our Work 360 server. Is that the best practice? Sometimes I say, you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So yes, absolutely. If that's working for you, that's why I said we have many ways of attaching documents. So if that's working for you, the best practice is do what's working best for you. Okay. Any other questions? If you have them, type them in the Q&A. George, I know you had a couple of questions. You want to ask your question?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
And I've been hesitant to do this, obviously, because I feel like I'm walking through a minefield sometimes. But that's where so I'm still. So the ACT and Outlook has been my partner. The email, and I have Zoho, and I don't know that I have made the complete transition from my Outlook mail to the Zoho package. Probably because I haven't fully separated myself from ACT because I want to get everything moved over.
Okay, so
what are your thoughts?
Okay, so my thoughts are, and again, I'm going to go back to my own database because this actually came from my database. Okay, I still use Outlook. Why do I use Outlook? I'm lazy. I've used Outlook for years. I have about 5 different email addresses that I track in Outlook. I continue to use Outlook. Now, one caveat, if you had ACT and they've got that linking going back between ACT and Outlook, you want to get rid of that. You want to turn that off so that you don't get your email in 6 ways to Christmas. But basically, I use, I configured, I went to the setup and I went into the integration area. I set up Outlook. And you can see when I send, so I actually kind of use almost a combo. I don't use Zoho Mail per se. Zoho Mail is a separate email client. So just like Outlook is an email client, Zoho Mail is a separate client. I don't use that because I use Outlook. Now, some of my clients don't want to pay for Outlook, so they use Zoho Mail. If you're used to using Outlook and you're comfortable with it, I'd stay there. Now, you can see that all of the email that I send, received, here's an email that I received, and here's an email that I sent. Here's an email when it says it was delivered. I use that using the e-marketing solution. They all show up here. And that's all I need. At the end of the day, I want to be able to see what they send me, what I send them, whether I use Outlook or whether I use campaigns or whatever I use, it's all showing up in one area. Now, even though I'm using Outlook, what's neat is his incoming email that I get from him, received, received, received. And I take this with a grain of salt. You could see that the AI kind of starts coming into place. So anything I receive from them is, it says, it kind of gives it a sentiment. And they're not always right, but it'll say unhappy, sad, angry, happy, neutral. So you could kind of see, from Gary here, I got a couple of neutral emails from him and I had a happy email. Again, I take it with a grain of salt, but every so often I go in there, I'm like, ooh, this person's really not happy. Because that AI kicks in and I like it. But again, I'm using Outlook for my normal email. I click on the person's email in Zoho CRM. My Outlook email shows up, off I go. And I'm also using templates, which is being sent through Zoho. They don't go through Outlook, but I could get, feedback, like if they've opened, if they've bounced, if they opt out. And I can also use mass mail, and they all show up here. So I kind of use a combo. I don't use just the Zoho mail product by itself.
So, okay, so I need to separate the Act and the Outlook immediately, and that will help clean up the interaction I'm having with Zoho and Outlook.
Right. And the biggest problem I have when I set up Outlook for users is you have to have the IMAP and SMTP settings. So people will say, oh, can you hook up my Outlook for me? I don't know what the settings are. I don't know who hosts your email. Right. Because Outlook is your email provider, but you also have somebody that's hosting your email. And like with me, even with me, I get confused because I use HostGator for my website, which gives me my email, but I use Rackspace because they have a better spam and filtering. So I always get confused. Do I go through Rackspace or do I go through HostGator? Oh, and then I use GoDaddy to register my domain. So sometimes it gets confusing where you have to go for that information. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. The other question that George had is, he said, is it me or did everything change? Some of you at the top of your Zoho screen are going to be seeing this. Try, what were they called? CRM or Zoho Everywhere. Zoho Everyone, Zoho Everywhere, something like that. It'll be purple on the top of your screen. And of course, you click on it. And it's a new interface. It's got more features. I'm finding half of my users love it. Half of my users don't love it. So if you don't love it, you just click your little profile picture up here in the top, and it will say, or if you're in the new interface, it's actually down in the left-hand corner, bottom left. Just click your profile and say, return me to the classic view. So you can flip back and forth. So if everything all of a sudden changed on you, you click that Zoho Everywhere. If you want to change back, you can. And I love that because a lot of you know that, when you had Act and all of a sudden you upgraded, something might have not worked well and there was no going back. I just love the fact that I can flip, hey, they put this out for me, but I don't like it and I can go back. So I like having that autonomy.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Any other questions from anybody? And George, thank you for getting volunteered. Again, any of you that would like to be the volunteer, please reach out or just go ahead and ask me some questions and I will volunteer you. Okay. Any other last minute questions, comments, complaints? All righty. We will see you in 2 weeks when I'm going to throw together some of my favorite Zoho features you might not have discovered yet. And again, I look forward to working with you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Bye-bye, everyone.
Have a good day.